Before we start this awesome episode, we got to give a shout out to our friends and sponsors at Pet Greens.
Yes, this is like our cat's 5-star salad bar.
Right. They nibble on their organic cat grass like it's fancy hors d'oeuvres before every meal.
Yeah, and honestly, it's really an important part of their routine as well. It helps with their digestion and it even helps with those hair balls.
Yeah, it does. And it's totally organic. No pesticides, herbicides, or any of that junk.
Nope, just super healthy greens that bring the outside in and help our indoor cats thrive inside.
You can find Pet Greens on Amazon, Chewy, Petco, PetSmart, PSP, and for our Canadian listeners at Pet Value too.
Okay, so now let's get to the podcast.
With wine, always with wine. I'm Jay.
I'm Adrian.
And together we are
the Two Crazy Cat Ladies.
I'm gonna cut you.
I think I just peed.
Buckle up.
We're back in the closet.
Welcome, everyone.
There's Tanya.
Another episode of the Back in the Closet with the Two Crazy Cat Ladies. We are very excited. As many of you guys know, how excited we've been for this specific podcast because it is with none other than Penny Wood, otherwise known as Dr. Zoolittle, who is a longevity zoologist, right? So the first time we met Penny, we were in Kansas City at Dr. Ruth Roberts' event, and we were sitting down. It was like the first night we were there. Penny came up and sat down beside me, and she said, or between us or something, she started talking, and we were like, Who are you? What do you do? She said, I'm a longevity zoologist, and I was like, you've got my attention.
All night long.
Yeah,
all night long. Let's toss it to you for an introduction for these fabulous folks that have taken the trek over to Zoom with us to share just a little bit about your background and why this is such a passion project for you. All the good stuff, all the good stuff.
All the good stuff. You got 9 hours then? Okay, let's go.
Yeah, and I want to hear about how raccoon styled your hair as well. So
we will get to that. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your patience. Thanks to everyone who's turned up. I'm so honored to chat with you tonight about cats. It's my favorite thing. So a little tiny bit about me. You don't want to hear a lot about me. That's the boring stuff. You want the stuff about the people with 4 legs. But I started out at 5. I started at 5 to become a zoologist because I went to the zoo, and for the first time in my life, which obviously was not very long at that stage, I saw a human go in with a wild animal in the enclosure, and it blew my mind because I'd always been told, with my love affair of animals, right? I'd always been told you can't play with wild animals. They're going to run away from you. You can't stay with them. That doesn't happen. Humans, wild animals, not a thing. And I was like, but wait. Look, this zookeeper likes the sea lion, likes this sea lion. She's brought in a bucket. She's got white Wellington boots. She's feeding the sea lion and chatting and talking. The sea lion's there and he's loving on her and he's like, this is the best thing ever and I'll do a handstand for you because we're friends. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I am going to make friends with animals and just make everybody happy. So that's where it started. It never deviated. I then was frustrated that I had to wait until I was 18 before I could go to university. I wanted to go to university then when I was 5 so I could crack on with zoology, but they made me wait, which was annoying. But anyway, we got there, and I started out in my career in this space called cognitive ethology. Cognitive ethology is a specialist area. So zoology is literally the study of animals that can do 1,000 different things, right? And I wanted to do animal welfare, understand who they really are on the inside, here and here. But how do we do that when we can't speak, right? So we've got to use another toolkit in order to bridge that gap. So cognitive ethology and behavioral neuroscience was my solution to how do we bridge this gap? How do we unlock what's going on the inside and really then be able to come in as the human with thumbs and a bigger brain and a bank account to solve their problems, right? And to facilitate welfare, to bring it from, life's okay or life's actually not okay, right? Depending on how bad the situation, to something that is phenomenal. So that's what I was doing in the zoo environment, loving that, working as a consultant, I'd been a keeper and I'd done all my hard work out in the field as a volunteer and sleeping on the ground in the rain, getting eaten by blants and all the stuff that you do when you're a student volunteer, right? And it was working towards this thing of, I'm going to unlock their secrets. I'm going to help them understand, the people understand what it is we do to make animals feel incredible. And I started working alongside the zoo vets. Now, I had not been a veterinary professional person. I knew I wasn't going to do that, right? But I didn't really know how they worked. I just knew it wasn't for me. And so when I went into the zoo vet world, which is a very, very niche space, like it's very, very hard to do that, I was expecting a lot. Let's just put it that way. I was expecting a lot. And what I saw broke my heart, because I suddenly realized what was going on the other side of the welfare coin, right? We think about animal welfare. It's a whole thing, right? It's the mind, your experienced life, how you feel like life is going. What are you getting to do? The emotional and experiential side. And there's also then the physical side, like what's happening in my body. Can I still use my body? Have I got pain? Am I sick? Am I going to die? Am I living long? What's going on in the body? So, and I'd always just gone, oh, the vet's going to look after that. That's fine. I'll stick over here with my cognitive ethology and mental health and do all that. Right. And then they were using horse medicine, dog medicine, and cat medicine on the zoo animals. And I knew instantly, as a zoologist who looks through animals with a different lens, that's not right. Species appropriate, that's a thing. Species specific, that's a thing. Your physiology, my physiology, how you metabolize something, what you do, what's poisonous for you, what's poisonous for me, these are all very, very different things. I was like, why are you doing that? And what happens when you get something that's not really dog-like, not really cat-like, and not really horse-like? What medicine do you give them? And I was just flabbergasted. And then I kept talking, and I kept like, and I had so many questions of why they weren't doing what I considered to be proper welfare. And then the third part of that equation was I started asking a lot of questions. What disease is this? What are they presenting with? Why are they back 9 times? So I've seen this flamingo like 6 times coming into clinic. Why? Why aren't you just making him better? Why aren't you just fixing him? Oh, well, we don't have solutions. We can't cure anything. We don't know what we're doing about that. So we just keep managing his symptoms. And I was just like, well, hey, I'm not a flamingo expert, but I'm pretty sure in the wild they don't do that. And it was when someone came along and said a cat thing to me that I got real mad. They were like, oh, it's normal. It's normal for cats to get chronic kidney disease. And I nearly punched someone on the nose because I said, no, it's not. Because out in the wild, not one single one of my cats, doesn't matter if they're a leopard, a cheetah, a lion, a puma, an ocelot, a sand cat, doesn't matter who they are, they're not dying of chronic kidney disease. So how dare you come and tell me that it's normal? It's not normal. You've accepted it, and that's a different thing. I reject that, and we're going to go fix it. And so that set me off. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to block my calendar, put a big line through that. I'm going to take 4 weeks, and I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to take 4 weeks off. I'm going to figure out this whole thing. Well, hilariously, that 4 weeks turned into 4 years as I went down the rabbit hole deeper and deeper and deeper, went past Alice and the White Rabbit, all the way to the Red Queen and went beyond, and figured out that functional medicine was this thing that worked. And regenerative medicine had better answers, better science, better treatment, better compassion, better efficacy, less side effects, the whole thing. And I was like, that's what I've been looking for. I didn't care what I was going to find. I just wanted the truth so that I could go back to that sea lion and that everybody else who I'd met along the way and say, do you know what? I can help. I actually can help, not give you a drug and make you just go, oh, it still hurts. Actually help. And then we've fixed welfare. Now I've got this side of the coin with the cognitive ethology, and now I've got this side with the functional medicine. So long story, I took ages to tell you, I'm sorry, but that's where we are.
No,
I love that story. So
now you guys understand why we're so excited to bring this beautiful woman to you guys.
Right?
I mean, it's your brain works on this level of just finding solutions, and you have the brain cells to do it. I mean,
yeah, even at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Can you imagine trying to form sentences?
Oh, no.
No. But it's fascinating and like how your journey kind of went,
Mhm.
and really just accepting that, kind of realizing if something doesn't exist, then you've got to be the one to create it. You've got
So,
to be the one to kind of connect the dots.
so what brought you into the longevity
Yeah.
piece of that, and how is
So
it like
great question. So back in undergrad, when doing animal welfare studies, right, there are different ways to measure, and you can get very technical and dry about some of this. That was a bit boring, so let's not do that. But effectively, you can measure the quantity and the quality, right? Fairly straightforward. Quantity, how good is today? How good are you right now? How good is your lifestyle in general? What can you look forward to qualitatively that makes it feel great? And how long do you get? So when you are a zoologist, there's a lot of animals at play, right? So that we tend to categorize a lot in science. So we have domestic animals, we have wild animals, we have feral animals, we have zoo animals, we have the ones in captivity, that ones are free, ones that are in soft captivity, ones are in hard captivity, ones are doing it right. So there's lots of animals to choose from in this equation. And a lot of them, nobody cares about how long they live for, right? If you're a farm animal, nobody cares how long you can possibly live for, because they're going to kill you by the time you're about one anyway, right? That's just the nature of a farm animal, right? Sucks. What if you're a caged animal getting makeup and sprayed stuff put on you because you're a tester? Like horrendous stuff, right? Nobody cares how long you live. They just want to see if the experiment works. Horrible. Hated it. Knew I wasn't going to go there. Just the same as I knew I wasn't going to go be a vet, right? So there are places for people who are braver than me can go and be in that world, and I'd probably end up in jail. So that was why I was like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to work with the ones where people actually care about them and love them too. So that narrowed it field right down for me to conservation, to zoos, and to pets. And those are the places where we do care about the other half of welfare, not just how are we doing today, how good is it, can we make it better, but also how long are you going to have? Now, most people shy away from that question because, from a scientific point of view, that's an expensive experiment to do, because you've got to run an experiment for, well, we don't even know how long. Right. How are you going to apply for your funding? So they usually do these kinds of experiments on animals that don't live for very long, on cockroaches and flies and other things. And I'm like, well, I don't really care about cockroaches and flies because I can't make a relationship with them. I can't improve their life. I can't unlock their brain. So let me work with the ones that are in my heart and whose head I can kind of unlock a little bit. So they're going to live longer. Nobody wants to do that research. Nobody wants to do it because there's no funding in it, right? So it takes someone who's willing to be a little bit quirky and go, do you know what? I'll do it. And so and also because I don't like focusing on bad news, right? Diseases are bad news, right? You can look at any glass, right? Is it half full or is it half empty, right? We all know that classic thing. But the more you look at the empty, the more you look at the bad, the more you look at something that isn't lovely, the more you go towards it. Because it's exactly the same if you focus on the good things. The more you focus on good things, the more you go towards that. Ever tried riding a bicycle, right? And then someone says, well, don't go over there, don't look at that, but you do. And then your handlebars just come with you and you let, right? That's what it's like. So like, I don't want to focus on disease and suffering and pain and negativity and nasty things. And also, I'm not qualified to be talking about diseases and drugs and stuff. I don't want to be a vet. I'm not a vet. So let's do the fun thing instead and focus on how to make them happy, right? So how to make them have longer time. Because I tell you what, there's not one single animal I've ever had in my life where I thought, you know what, I don't mind if you nick off. Like, I'm okay if you go. I'm like, no, we're going to sign a pact in blood. Like, I'm going to take your claw and you're going to cut me. And then we're going to sign our names on this little thing. And it says, we will go die on the same day because you're not going without me and I'm not going without you, right? And if you're a pet parent like that, then you do care about longevity, right? You might not be as crazy as me and do a blood pact with your cat, but like you will do what it takes to ensure that they go for as long as possible.
Yes. Wow.
Very well
That is
said.
so beautiful.
It's so true though, that it does take an investment. It takes a big investment to be able to unlock all this information. So let's talk about you've worked with a lot of different animals. I know that just our time in Kansas City and our time with you in Spain, it's just mind-blowing. And we've been waiting for this conversation for a long time. So share with us, like, how do you define longevity science? Like, where do you start? I mean, if we're
So the key point I think is here. So you can be a biohacker, right? Biohackers in the human space, they're all about trying to hit an age mark. I'm going to live to 120. I'm going to live to 145. I'm going to live to whatever, right? And it's this kind of, let's measure how big we are and how great we are and do this competition. That's not what I care about, right? As an animal welfare zoologist, it's both sides, quality and quantity. So I'm not trying to help get a magic mark into the universe and put it on that birthday, right? But what we can do is improve health span. The typical trajectory of any body, right? Any animal, any one of us, is we're born and we're typically healthy and we have optimum like vitality and things, peaks around about 30, and then we start on a decline with various different things. And that can go faster or slower depending on the lifestyle choices that you make. But invariably now, modern humanity has a curve where there is a decline, very slowly, very long, and you lose functionality, you lose freedoms, you lose joy, and end up taking drugs, having to have therapy, having a restricted life, and then eventually dying of a disease, right? And because we invite animals into our world, they end up in the same environment that we do, the same lifestyle that we do. And so we inadvertently give them that same tragic trajectory. But if you look at an animal in the wild, that's not how they live. They live hard and sometimes die young, but they don't die of diseases. So they get born and they have their peak and they do all their things and they stay strong because they have to, because the wild's not a place for softies, right? It's and there isn't time to get fat, right? Because you're too busy surviving today. You're not going to develop arthritis because you're never having junk food. There's a whole host of diseases that just don't exist very often. I can't say never, but very often in the population. It's very much an exception to the rule. So what can we do about that? We know then it's not them, it's us. What can we do to change? Their biology's still good, right? If you're a wild animal, or if you're a domestic animal, you've still got the same essential biology. Things are going to work the same way. So what is it, the difference? Well, you've got a human looking after you. That can be a great thing, right? But it's the human not having the decision-making sophistication of the knowledge that an animal has, because those wild animals are making decisions based on who they are, what their ecosystem can provide, and how to survive. So they might have an accident, they might break their tooth, they might get caught in a snare, they might get eaten by a crocodile, right? But it's usually pretty quick, or any of those things. And the ones who don't do that are living longer and stronger. So let's bring health span onto the table as the main measure, rather than longevity per se to hit a magical number. And so that way we have the same kind of trajectory as the wild animal, but with the best of both worlds, because we're going to protect them from that accident, injury, infectious disease stuff that medicine can do really well, right? And then they're going to hold that high level of health and welfare all the way through, and then have a tiny little blip at the end and then go to heaven, right? So that's a better story.
I
it
agree.
really is.
I
Okay.
agree.
So for cats specifically, what are these 7 pillars?
Yeah, because you make it sound like it's actually a lot easier, which is what we all want, right? As cat parents, we want to be able to
Actually do the things.
help our cats live the longest, happiest life possible. And we also don't want to like break the bank. We want to, we want to be able to do something that we can actually do on a regular basis, like things, like we have lots of tips that we give people all the time, but you have it beautifully laid out into a course actually, where you explain it, and it's not a difficult thing.
Right. Great question. Here's the thing. Those 4 weeks that suddenly turned into 4 years and like studying medicine, right? That's a lot of information. And I started to see a lot of patterns in that. It's like this disease would crop up, but then this thing would, and it took a long time to kind of unravel it all. But I was like, do you know what? There's a very clear pattern here that I'm seeing. When we understand that the health destiny, meaning the health and vitality, but then also the duration of their life, because the two things just go together. They just do. When you address one, you get the other as a bonus, right? So when you look at what controls that destiny, is it genetics or is it lifestyle? It's mostly lifestyle. And we know that because we can do the comparison to the wild animals, but studies have also backed up that same thing, looking at it from a different point of view. So you have this 90 approximately % control over where you take your pets. You are the one in power when you can make the right choices. So I was like, okay, this is amazingly good news, right? This is not, okay, well, it's just luck of the dice roll and the genetics and whatever else. Tiny bit, but not a lot. How can I make 4 years of medical science accessible in half an hour kind of thing? You know, how can I bring it down? So there's the concept called irreducible complexity, right? So if you are looking at a mousetrap, for example, right, it's got 7 parts to it or 5 parts to it or whatever it is. I'm not a mousetrap designer, obviously, but you need like a base plate. You need to have a little spring. You need to have and you can make it fancy beyond it doing its actual thing, right? But it needs those minimum number of constituent parts to actually operate. 6 parts out of 7 ain't going to do it. You aren't going to catch 7 as many mice. You catch no mice, right? So irreducible complexity is the smallest number of pieces to actually get a powerful effect. And that's what these 7 pillars are. It's dividing up the lifestyle choices that you're making on behalf of your animal, right, into doable, clear, logical aspects that come naturally anyway. Like, hands up, who's not feeding their cat? Right? No one, right? So we're already doing pillar number 1, which is species appropriate nutrition, right? So I teach people how to do species appropriate nutrition at the 10 out of 10 rewilded version, right? So we're bringing the wild, we're bringing nature back into how do we feed our cats, instead of just going, well, this is how we do it because we're human and that's how we do it. No. Let's stop and pause and go, well, what are they doing? Okay, let's take the principles of that and then turn that into a very simple solution of what to do at home. So that's what I do. So we have 7 areas of lifestyle. You're already doing them, right? We're just going to dial up your choice from a sort of status quo, everybody does it, this is the human perspective version of it, to this rewilded version, right? To bring in nature's intelligence, nature's protection, the wild animal strategies to the love and care and devotion that you have. And now we've got the best of both worlds.
Wow. I freaking love this. Can you give us a teaser of what the 7 pillars are?
Yeah, of course, because you need to know them, right? This is not a secret. I want everyone to know. So species appropriate nutrition, by the way, these are in no particular order. This is just the order that I tend to do them in. There's no hierarchy. They're all important. Like I said, if you take one piece away, it doesn't work, right? It will still work, but you're not going to get the full effect, right? And let's also start by saying that you can start anytime. You don't have to start on day 1. You don't have to start when they're 19. You can start at any point and you will get benefit. Okay. Just so people, because a lot of people ask me, is it too late? Have I missed the boat? Have I made too many mistakes? And the answer is always no, because biology is so flexible and adaptable, because it has to be, because out there in the wild, it's always changing. Climate is changing. Geology is changing. Someone else is moving into your territory and you've got to nick off somewhere else. The tree fell over in the storm last night. Like, it's always changing. So they're very adaptable and flexible, and the biology is as well. So that means at any stage, you can start to introduce a better version and get a better result. So 7 pillars. Species appropriate nutrition, number 1, right? And there's a 3, I'll get to that in a minute. It's number 2 is detoxification. Okay, this is really important, and I seldom find pet parents who are taking detoxification where it needs to be. We can't sometimes get freaked out and think, oh, I have to give my cat green smoothies and purge. No, we're not talking about that. We're species appropriate, natural version. Okay, but detox, they have to get the trash out as much as we need to put the good stuff in. Okay. Number 3, the microbiomes. Now, there are plenty of those across the body, and science is always finding more. They discovered that there's a whole individual microbiomes in your spine, of all places. Like, I mean, who knew? But in here, we focus on 3, the skin, the gut, and the oral. Dental for cats, major issue. We can save that. We can protect that. Nobody needs to lose their teeth ever if we do the wild strategies, right? So we do microbiomes. Number 4 is a mixture of movement, exercise, and alignment. So this is the physical frame of the body, if you like, right? So movement is what can you do with your body? Like, how high can you jump? Can you do it? So it's this kind of thing, right? It's the freedom that you have inside your skin. Exercise is obviously then putting that under some level of pressure, some stress, right? So you have to go harder, go faster, get a sweat. It's a little hard, right? Exercise. Alignment is, how does your frame hang? Like, are you in balance? Have you got the blockages of flow coming through from your electrical circuit, from your fascia, from your circulatory system, from your lymphatics? Like, are you flowing because your alignment is good, or are you pinching somehow because your alignment is off? And there's so many injuries that our animals get that we don't see, and they end up being somehow trapped in their own body a little bit. So those 3 all go together, although there's 3 kind of components to it, right? Number 5, almost always completely neglected. I haven't heard anyone else teaching about this, right? So this, I think, is a zoological lens that comes into it, but it's the natural environments. Okay, so let me explain that for a second. Nature looks after animals. Nature also looks after plants. Plants look after animals. Animals look after nature. It's all interconnected, right? The sun has healing properties. The ground has healing properties. The air has healing properties, right? So I divide nature, the natural environment, into 5 spheres, the way you would learn it in undergrad science, right? So the biosphere, hydrosphere, heliosphere, atmosphere, and geosphere, right? And each one of these components of nature contributes health benefits and protective benefit and healing benefit. So it's both sides to our animals. When we separate them from nature and put them in an artificial house, they're separated from all of that bonus-free healing and protection that they would get in the wild. So we look at strategies of how can we connect them back to a life that is more connected into the wild. Doesn't, even if a cat has to be an indoor cat, there are ways we can do that, although it's still not my favorite. I understand that it's sometimes restricted, and there are ways to overcome that. So natural environments, big deal. 5, 6, hormone health. Hormones is a big one, right?
Yes, especially when it comes to cats. I would love to hear.
Yes.
So hormones, we tend to automatically think of sex hormones, repro, spay and neuter, and that's a huge part of the equation. But let's also not forget we have ghrelin and leptin, which are our appetite hormones. We've got insulin.
Start your risk-free trial at sarahvital.com.
Ooh, that's exciting. We have serotonin. So there's a whole lot more of the hormone situation than just reproduction. The thing is, these work in symphony, they work literally like a symphony orchestra. So you've got all the instruments playing there, but you need a conductor to make it harmonize. And if you suddenly take the string instruments off the stage and say, I'll tell you what, woodwind, brass, and percussion, you just carry on. But I tell you what, some of you are going to have to compensate a little bit because we don't have the strings there anymore. And so someone's playing louder here. And now what we've got is a cacophony kind of imbalance because the strings have disappeared. That's what happens when we spay and neuter. All the other hormones start jumping up and down and going, no, me, I need to fill the gap. I need to overcome the fact that these ones are missing. And we get extremes of spiking and all kinds of things. So hormone harmony is pillar number 6. And then number 7 is mental health and happiness. So this is where, back to my roots, right, with the anthrozoology, the human-animal relationship thing, trust building, improving experience life, training, enrichment, what else? Desensitization, socialization, play, all the good stuff, right? So that all comes under that pillar. Now you can do that in a bazillion different ways. And in fact, in each one of these 7 facets, if you like, there's hundreds of different things that you could do and choose from to tweak up, to dial up, to improve that welfare and to rewild the body again so that it stays stronger and healthier like a wild animal. You get to choose. That's the beauty of this, because the foundation science is all you need to to rest it all on, if you like. That's your grounding. And then you just decide based on where you are in the world, how old you are, how old your pets are, how much money you've got, what's accessible to you, what kind of lifestyle you have, all the other variables of life. There's always going to be plenty of things for you to choose from that fit you, rather than it being a prescription of you must, you shouldn't, you never, you can't, that kind of thing. So it's a model that allows for 100% flexibility, but in a very systematic way, 7 areas of your life. And if you just dial up the something in each one of those areas, you're already going to see massive results.
Wow. You are so good at explaining things. You are so good with your words.
Thank you.
I have like a ton of follow-up
And
questions.
your analogies and yeah. I know so many people were jumping on while you were going over the 7 pillars. So we'll go back towards the end. We'll have you just kind of like quickly, recap what this course is. But Adrian has a whole lot of questions for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, so first of all, I think one of I don't know which one's first of all. Okay. The natural, bringing the natural world back in. That is what I love that you said that, because I think that is one of the things that we have indoor cats. We have indoor cats because we live in Las Vegas. We've got hawks in our yard, coyotes everywhere, cars, all of that. And, when we lived in Tennessee, we did let our cats go in and out. We also lost a cat that way. So it's kind of like, yep, everyone's staying inside.
So we built a catio.
Right, but a catio is something,
they could...
right? Like that's one of those things where does your budget, does your lifestyle allow for it? Does your HOA allow for it? Can you give a hint on something that for someone who is really, they live in an apartment in New York and they've got a cat. What's one little thing that could help? I mean, you talked about the 5 different spheres. I didn't even know there were that many. So I have questions about that. But what's one little tweak that someone could make in that kind of very enclosed situation that could help bring the natural healing benefits, as you said, of the wild back into their home?
Open the window.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow.
Open the window. 2 things are going to happen when you do that, depending on which window on the house it is, right? But you're going to release the glass from the aperture, if you like, which means that actual sunlight can come in. The cat can lie in that little sun pool there and receive the healing benefits of the sun. Second thing that's going to happen is that air is going to come in, and air carries all kinds of information that we are oblivious to because our noses are fairly subpar when it comes to detecting pheromones, pollen, chemical messaging, all kinds of stuff. There's so much information on the air, in the wind, if you like, that our animals are able to detect, tells them who's in the neighborhood, who's on heat, what season it is, what time of day it is, what the trees are doing. There's tons of information. And so when we have everything all shut down and all closed off, that's like being told to cover your eyes and close your ears. Like for us, sensorily we get deprived of that, and we're like, but what's going on? Tell me, I don't know. And so they live in this place of I don't know what's going on. And when we live perpetually in a place of I don't know what's going on, it affects our confidence, which then affects our behavior, which then affects our security and our relationship, and it spirals down. So the more information, meaningful information that we can allow our cats to access, the more they stay in that present and consciously computing kind of place, because there's information that's coming in. If there's no information input, they're sensorily deprived, which means ultimately they're mentally deprived, which then has an effect on relationship, quality of life, and all the other things. So even in a tiny space like an apartment, that's one example, right? But there are things that you can do to mimic the quality of air that you might get out at the seaside or on top of a mountain that you might not get in Manhattan, right? So an air purifier that is also going to ionize the air molecules and turn them into negative ions instead of positive. That's going to have hugely healing benefits in the animal system. Right, our number one intake into the body is air. Now we're looking for the oxygen, but we're taking in air and then we're detoxing out the carbon dioxide. So if that air has a positive charge on it, the way that cities have, because conditioned air and polluted air gains that positive charge, right, it's actually draining on the body. It adds to a toxic burden. This is why doctors of old used to say to people who lived in London when it was all smoky and nasty, gosh, you've got to go down to Brighton and sit on the seaside and breathe the sea air, right? Because they didn't know the science of it, but they knew the effect of it. Air can be made really healthy with an ionizer that you can put in your apartment. So you've just changed the quality of the air. So you can do that. You can fill the bathtub, right, with, you know, a little bit like this of salty water and allow like a miniature seaside effect and take your cats into the salty water, which is then they put their little paws in that and they play around and you're there to help and make it fun, right? They can chase some things and whatever else. Now they're in a little seaside. So they're detoxing, right? The saltiness pulls out toxins from their paw pads, which is one of the best places to get a detox going, right? So they're detoxing. They're also resetting their mineral balance because you've got sea salt. Please don't use table salt. You're using sea salt, right? Or what we could do, we can get a great big sheet off the bed, lay that out on the ground in the living room somewhere nice and big, this big old white sheet down on the table, right? Now what we're going to get is 12 different herbs. We're going to get some rosebuds, we're going to get some lavender, we're going to get some thyme, some marigolds, some calendula, we're going to get catnip, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. And you're going to make little piles of this. Some of it can be fresh, some of it can be dried. Doesn't matter. We're now going to let the cat come out and play in the herb garden, play in the rose garden, nibble, lick, chew, lie on, scatter around and pounce on. It doesn't matter. They're having fun. And you've got it all in a sheet to just tip out the window, you know, when you're done with it, right? So you can do so many things.
Have we discussed that before, the herb gardens or herb gardens?
Herbs with an H, please. No, we've not.
We haven't? That's so funny. We just in July we launched herb gardens for
with the
herb
amazing
Laura Katz.
Oh, well, that's perfect.
Yeah, and the herbalist that makes it is here.
Oh, there you go. Well, you can pay me $20 later on for doing that. No, I've got
exact same thing. We say the exact same thing. Just lay out a sheet, a blanket, a rug, whatever, and let them self-select because self-select is so important.
Oh my God. So I asked for one thing and you've got I didn't even know about the ionization of the air molecules.
I didn't either.
We obviously need to get a new air purifier, air filter or something.
Yes, I think that would be good. Also for us with our breath work.
Right.
And we should just have that next to us when we're doing our sessions. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's super healthy for everyone in the house, not just the pets, right? So it's a win for everyone.
I think it was Tanya that asked, and you know, when you talked about detoxification, I think that we're kind of in that boat too of like, oh, well, Jack's up there in a scratcher if it's noisy. We're in that kind of like, you know, if they get a vaccine, you know, if they have anesthesia or if they need some kind of prescription, then we want to help detoxify. And it's kind of more of a situational thing.
But I mean, truth is we can't avoid, no matter how many chemicals we take out of our house, no matter what we do, our earth is toxic, right? Our air is toxic. Like there's so much. Talk a little bit more about the detox and how often do you recommend that people would, you know, detox their cats, if you will?
Right. The answer to that is daily. If you're going to feed them daily, detox them daily. Like that's the way forward. Right. Now, let's remember, detox doesn't have to be complicated and it doesn't have to be saved up for an event. It is lifestyle. They are doing a detoxification every time they take a breath. We just talked about that because detoxing is getting out of the body things that are poisonous for the body. Carbon dioxide is poisonous for the body. So out it goes. They're doing it all the time, right? They don't sweat an awful lot, just their nose pads and paws can do that, right? But they are still going to eliminate toxins through their pores, which is why I say a salt bath can be amazing for helping with that. So naturally, a body has 6 detox pathways, because toxins come in different shapes and sizes, and they get in different ways, and they need to come out in different ways. So you are not going to sweat poop, for example. Thank the Lord for that, right? So, right, that's going to come out one way, but other toxins are going to come out through your skin. You're not going to suddenly like have all of your breathing gases come out of your tear ducts, right? So there are 6 detox pathways, and the body is doing that anyway. But here's the thing, like you said, it's way more toxic now than it used to be. Used to be that those pathways would do all the heavy lifting by themselves because there wasn't that much poison to get rid of. Different story now. So when they're young, they're usually doing it pretty well and they're getting rid of it. And it's an arms race, right? The longer you live, the more the toxins are building up. The younger you are, the more you can overcome that. And so you sit up here in this place of health, right? Sooner or later, there comes a point now where this one takes over. And what happens then is you start to get symptoms appearing. But if you are able to do this and push that one back down again, symptoms go away, right? That's called health, the restoration of health, called healing, right? We're not allowed to use these words, but this is what's happening in the body at a biological level, right? It wasn't a magical drug. It's it's the body fixing itself, because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that's going to do that. No drug, no doctor, no longevity scientist, no supplement, no wonder food, no prescription, no formula is going to do the healing process. Their immune system is going to do that. Yep. Their immune system sometimes requires some raw materials. If they've had access to the raw materials, their immune system works. If they don't have access to those raw materials, the immune system is going to keep trying and do the best it can, but it's not going to be optimized. And at some point, it's not going to be able to deliver health because the other stuff's going to build up. So we want to be doing things that support their immune system.
Wow.
I want this course just for the 6
I know.
topic. Mainly because I'm grateful we don't sweat poop.
Great. You heard it here first.
Really great way to explain that. Okay, so one more. I don't even know where we're at on time because we're not on StreamYard, but it's after 2 a.m. for you now. But
that's fine.
You were talking, one of the pillars is hormone health. And I love the analogy that you used of it being a symphony. And then when we spay neuter, we take the strings away and we, all the other players are then trying to kind of fill those gaps. With our cats, especially in the US, it is a very controversial thing to not spay or neuter. What do you consider in situations like this where we do have feral colonies, community cats, lots and lots of litters that were unexpected pregnancies?
Yeah, the majority of our community they're just such beautiful people, and they rescue cats, right? Like,
yes.
So they're working they're like, usually they have their own cats in their house, and then they're also feeding, a colony over here, or, trying to do TNR, to get, to cut down on the population, of communities. And there's really just, there's no like option available to not spay or neuter, unless you happen to, find a kitten on the side of the road that, left his mom or something.
Right. So
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, with the amount of knowledge that you have about how that symphony works together, what's some insight you can share for those of us that have already spayed and neutered, or what would you consider to be best practices? Just controversy aside.
So the first thing is to acknowledge, as you said, and not have an elephant in the room of like, can't do that, right? But acknowledge that there's a really strong welfare argument to make on both sides of the coin here, right? We want to have cats in safe homes where they're not on the street, they're not in shelters, they're not at risk of losing their life. Or this is critically important. At the same time, at the individual level, because that's more population level, at the individual level, what's best for this one or that one or whatever one, and when we have a conflict, we need to start getting clever, right? Because we can have win-win, right? So I'm not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater or making enemies on the other side. I don't believe in other side, right? That's rubbish. We're all in it together. We love our cats. So what we want to do is find something that solves both problems, or find a way to get creative with this. So biology, from a biology perspective, right? First of all, no cats out in the wild are getting hysterectomies and losing their boy bits. Like, it just doesn't happen, right? So it's not a natural thing to come and do this. Again, I'm going to have my zoology lens on this, right? However, we do have instances of sterility in animals where they just don't have babies because there's something that's not working right. Okay. So, and we know in humans, right, we would never take a child of 7, let's say, or whatever, and say, let's do a hysterectomy on her because, you know, we don't want her to have, it's unthinkable. Like, it's just unthinkable, right? But that's what we're doing. So we are taking a very, very young animal before they've gone through puberty and learned what it's like to be in that body and how to cope with those things, and allow those hormones to operate in a way that is teaching the brain, teaching the body, helping it grow, setting it up for life, all those things. We take that away and don't let them even have a fighting chance. So there's no wonder that a whole lot of things start to break. So from a biological point of view, this is a stupid idea, right? From a population point of view, it's only because we are stupid and don't necessarily have full ethical responsibility in the way that we look after domestic animals that we have this problem in the first place. It's not the cat's problem. They're not going around having a problem. They're living life, right? But we've allowed something to grow out of no. So we've got responsibility to fix it. So here's the nice news, right? Is that we can do something called an organ sparing spay or an organ sparing neutering, right? And we're just going to cut some tubes. I'm going to simplify this as if I was a surgeon, right? But we are going to do a vasectomy, or we're going to cut the fallopian tube. So now there's nothing that's missing from the animal's body. We haven't removed any healthy tissue. Why would we remove healthy tissue? That's not health. That's not smart. Like, we remove unhealthy tissue if it's necrotic, right, to save an animal's life. Right? But we don't go around removing healthy. Oh, do you know what? I got rid of my arm today. Why? I was in the way. I was trying to sleep on my side and it was in the way, the spare arm thing, you know, well, so I got rid of it. Nobody's going to do that. It's good, healthy tissue, right? It's going to function. It's there for a purpose. Why would I cut it off, right? So I'm going to keep my arms. These are analogies, right? But so let's keep the healthy tissue in the body doing its job, what it's supposed to do, for a whole host of different reasons, aside from the fact that it will help with the pregnancy, right? Let's just stop the pregnancy bit. Oh, well, there's an A to B. So let's cut the passageway and, well, that's the end of babies then. So that's as simple as it needs to be. And then you've got a much less invasive procedure. You've got lower recovery time. You've got less time anesthesia from the risks of all that happening. What you can do is allow the cat to go through adolescence, so that they can have that hormonal expression for their growth, for understanding the world, for getting their cognitive faculties and things. And then when they reach about 1 year of age, which is when I say they reach 4-tier maturity. So there's sexual maturity, there's physical maturity, the body is fully grown, intellectual maturity and cognitive maturity, right? And so when they've reached that mark, which is about at the 12-month mark for a cat, it varies a little bit with dogs according to breed size, because they can be a bit slower. Then we can say they are now in a healthy position to be a functioning, proper adult cat, right? And now we can do that little cut, not going to have babies. So there's a small window of time between about the 5-month mark and the 12-month mark, so about 7 months, where the pet parent needs to be responsible in the management and the behavior and the access that that cat has, so that we don't have the unwanted pregnancies. And that way we can get the best of both worlds. We can have the no excess unwanted babies pregnancy shelter situation, right? But we haven't compromised our baby over here and suddenly taken 10 years off their life by doing something horrific to them when they were a baby.
Wow.
I'm excited for
I've never heard that analogy.
And being in Spain and listening to Dr. Peter Tobias talk about the stuff, and it's just kind of mind blowing. And it's exciting to think. I know that he's doing a lot of work
In the dog
as
world.
well as you are trying to get that status of care to kind of change to be a whole different protocol for practicing.
And just to follow up on that briefly, I can't go into a lot of detail now, but where we've already made that decision, or where it was made for us in a shelter when we've adopted, all of my babies have been rescues, so they've already come pre-done. You know, I didn't have a say in that. So we are familiar with HRT, right, hormone replacement therapy, but there's HOT, right? And I like this because it's hormone optimization therapy, right? So we can use HOT with our animals. It's a very, very young science. But this can help fill some of the gaps for the ones that have already had a procedure and have lost that tissue. Because let's remember that those organs are actually also glands, right? So a gland is tissue that is going to secrete out hormones and pheromones and things, right? So it's secreting. My heart doesn't secrete. My heart is an organ, right? It's not a gland as well, but ovaries are a gland and a hormone and an organ together, right? So when that tissue is gone, those signals are gone, which is why I say that symphony orchestra starts going out of kilter a little bit. So we use HOT to help fill the gaps of what's missing. And there's amazing new science being done, mostly with peptides, that is really pushing the progress forward on how we can soften the blow of what might have happened on the biological side for their spay and neuter procedures.
Wow,
Oh my God,
that's so exciting.
Okay, I know that we're on Zoom and I know that we're out of time. And the link for you
I just texted to myself so I could put it in the
you're
here.
brilliant.
That's what I was doing.
Okay. So this whole course, tell us a little bit more about the course. Like, how long is it?
Yeah, and what all do you get with it? Like when you sign up for the course, what can you expect?
Okay, so the course is animal anti-aging. So this is the sum total of all of those years of my studies, bringing it down into some really, like, here's the theory and here's what you can do. So it's 8 weeks. We take one pillar each week, running all the way through, and week number 8 is your free topic. So as we go, people are going to have questions. This stuff's going to become interesting. We're going to take a little vote, and I'll do a special personalized lecture on the last one for our celebration, right, in week 8. But we're going to take one pillar at a time and go in deep and give you those foundation points to what's the first principles, what's the foundation of this? Why is species and appropriate nutrition, for example, so important? Because if you don't understand why, then you're probably not going to do the thing, because it won't make sense and you'll feel like you can cut a corner. Okay, and that's fine if that's what you choose to do. But if you're going for the best of the best and you want to know how, this gives you the ability to do that and take it in any direction that suits you. So 8 weeks, where we're meeting live on Zoom. I'm teaching this live. This isn't a pre-recorded thing where you sit at home and take some notes and kind of fall asleep halfway through. We're going to chat, right? And we're going to do Q&As after every session so that you can, get everything unraveled for you and make it clear and all the rest of it. There's action stuff in there. Okay. I said before, I'm not going to talk about that now but let me briefly mention it. So for each pillar, we have an in, an out, and an optimize. So there are things that we're going to bring into the body or into our life, right? We're going to tweak things and improve them with some in. So we're going to pick an in and we're going to do an in, and we're going to practically do an in so that you can do an in and start to make this real. Because it's one thing to learn it, but it's another thing to actually give it, right? Then we're going to look at out. What do we need to purge from the body or cut out of the body? Like, not cut out, but like cut out of our lifestyle. What do we need to remove from our environment? So we're going to get rid of something. Yeah. And then we're going to optimize. What can we tweak and dial up the needle? So what can we do that is going above and beyond the basics? Because I know you don't just want basics, you want the best of the best. So we're going to do an optimize as well. So there's a practical component to this, but it's very bite-sized and achievable. And here's the thing, you can come back to this course and do it over again if you want to, because you've got lifetime access to it. And as I make the course better and better over time, you'll get the upgrades for free, right? And so now you're getting more and more information, because each time I teach it, it's going to have different nuances and feels to it. And for your next pet, you're going to go, well, that's not so appropriate for what I used to do, so I'm going to do this other thing instead, or I'm going to do both, or whatever. So you still get to always be the master of your destiny in the what are we doing, but you've got the power and you're empowered, I guess, because you understand the foundation. And when you understand the foundation, you can take it in any direction, tailor it to you, and then look at that. So we can look at how much, if I say that another way, there in each one of the pillars, there's probably, I could easily write a list of 100 things, right? You don't need 700 things in your life. This is not about doing more. This is about simplifying, right? And taking it down, right? By making smarter choices that I can show you, right? Make the difference. That's what we're doing.
Wow.
Oh my God. Okay. We're gonna wrap it up, but what is one thing that all of us can do? Like, what is one habit that you wish that every cat parent already had in their pocket that you knew?
Oh my goodness.
They were
Yeah. I'm sure you have a million, but if there were if you were
like,
to
what's a
pick
favorite one
one of your favorite things that if you could change the world of the cat, like the cat world, then what would you instill in every cat parent or guardian's mind that they would change?
Okay.
Love.
I have a personal hatred, like a vendetta against chronic kidney disease. I loathe it. It doesn't belong, right? We need to get rid of it. The best ways to do that is to prevent it. The 3 best ways to prevent it: increase cats' water intake. You probably know that. You probably heard that, right? It makes sense. Increase their omega-3 significantly. Increasing your omega-3 will not only aid you in reverse, right? It'll keep everything working better and protect you, right? And everything that I teach, almost everything I teach for the animals, can be applied to ourselves.
Right.
Because a cell is a cell, right? A system is a system, a heart is a heart, right? They're going to work in the same ways. Chronic kidney diseases arises because the kidney has to overwork compared to the rest of the body. Why is it working harder than the rest of the body? Because a cat ancestrally is a desert species. It's not a free drinker. It's designed to conserve water, which means the kidneys are already going to be working a little bit harder to work out how much water can we pull back from the urine and save to operate in the body. And then we're going to just excrete the minimum amount necessary. They're already working hard. If you're on a kibble diet, you're going to make that cat dehydrated for its entire life, and that kidney is going to have to work harder and harder all the time to conserve some water, because chances are your cat's not going to be free drinking because you're not thinking about that and doing the hacks that I teach to how to get cats to drink more, right? And so they're going to sit there under par, and that kidney is going to go, oh my God, I've got to work again. I didn't even get a break. It's now the 954th day in a row and I haven't had a holiday, right? And it's going to keep working, and then it's going to go, oh, do you know what? I give up. And then we have chronic. And so we don't want that. So let's stop that from happening. Let's add extra water to the food. That makes a big difference. The kidneys don't have to work so hard, right? Let's add omega-3s, because that makes a huge difference. Huge difference. You can actually usually reduce the symptomology, if it's already established, by about 50%. Right, you can improve markers in kidney disease by increasing omega-3. Good omega-3. Oil is not oil. You've got to choose the right one. Number 3, collagen. Nobody knows this because it's only being done in wild animals, so the research hasn't come across into the veterinary world, right? But increasing collagen intake to around about 30% of a cat's average standard bowl, right? So we're talking ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, fascia. We're talking about cartilage, right? That stuff. They need to have about 30% of their bowl consistently, not just once a day, or sorry, not once a week or something, right? Consistently 30% collagen in their bowl will protect them against getting chronic kidney disease.
Really?
It's a missed thing. People don't know that. This came out of the research in cheetah conservation. over in Namibia, the cheetahs were getting into trouble, right? And so there are people out there for ages at stations doing, monitoring the population. The cheetahs walking around with little collars on and all the things because they're out in the wild being tracked, right? We're learning, science is discovering stuff. These guys are fine. They're at risk of poachers and nasty things, but health-wise, they're looking real good, right? And then something happens and they have to bring one in because it got poached and it hurt its leg or whatever, and they rescue and they bring it in. Sometimes they can't release them. Sometimes it's not safe to release them back. So they live in this sort of semi-captivity place. Those cheetahs started getting chronic kidney disease. The ones out there were not getting it. And so the veterinary wildlife researchers, they started to ask the question, well, what's the difference? It's clearly something to do with captivity, right? But what aspect of it? They did a lot of research. They looked at all the things. They started to look at you doing acrobatics. I love it. Oh my God. Come here, please. Can I have a back massage? Thank you.
Sorry.
And so Dr. Adrian Tordif did phenomenal work in figuring out that it was the absence of collagen in the cats' diets. When they came into captivity, they started being fed the standard, whatever it was at the time, zoo animal diet for cheetahs, right, which was collagen deficient, strongly so. They didn't think of it was very important. Nobody really paid. But when you think about it, right, a body. This is what I teach in the nutrition pillar, right? Is a cat typically hunts something smaller than itself, which means it eats the whole body. It's not sharing with someone else. Unless you're a lion, different story. We're talking about house cats. So you eat the whole prey. A body is a body is a body. Whether you're a mouse, a zebra, me, or an elephant, right? You are largely going to be somewhere between 35 and 50% muscle meat, 20% organ, 20% bone, 30 to 60% collagen. Right, that's just the composition. I might have got those numbers slightly wrong, but it's closer. But whether you're a mouse or a wildebeest, right, whether a cat's going to eat you or a hunting dog going to eat you, the body's about the same thing. So if we just give the cats muscle meat and organ meat, but no bones and collagen, well, why would we imagine for 1 second that that's appropriate nutrition? It's good nutrition, but it's not complete. So those are the 4 types of meat: muscle meat, organ meat, collagen meat, bone meat. They're all meat. The source might be different. Sheep, lamb, pig, cow, deer, rabbit, duck, wildebeest, right? But that's your source. These are the types of meat, and the animal eats all 4. The great news is these 3 cheap as chips. Nobody in the human world wants those. So you can fill up their bowl with all the protein that they need, right, for 50 cents, right? It's nothing because nobody wants that. The muscle meat's the expensive bit, and cats only need about half their bowl to be the muscle meat. So when we put the collagen back into the cheetah's diets, there goes kidney disease, bye. Fantastic. So put that together with what we already know about with the oil and the water, we can protect it. We can prevent it.
Wow.
Okay, so this is a new podcast.
Yeah,
I
think we need to have a whole other podcast just on that alone, for sure.
It's important. Yeah. But that's what I wish every cat parent knew. Like, to go back to your question, like for 4 hours ago, like that would be what I would like everyone to know, because that's the number one, the Grim Reaper with their scythe coming up behind every kitty. And it was just like, let's get rid of him, right? Let's protect them. Let's give them their suit of armor. Let's build up their immune system and give them that protection. But detox is another, I know we've touched on it a couple of times here, but I really honestly, cats are like the canary in the coal mine. Like the proverbial, take the canary down, it stops singing because it died, it'll get the miners out, right? The cat is that in our house, right? They're about 1/10 the size of us, which means they're getting 10 times more concentrated than we are when it comes to toxins. And they are most likely going to be spending more time in the house than we are. So it's going to be even higher than that. So if we're not detoxifying our kitties, it's no wonder that they're accumulating diseases. And it's so easy. It's as simple as, I don't have anything with me here, so I'm just going to pretend that this is the writing stuff. It's as simple as, this is their water bowl. This is the product that I love. And you go and put some in their water bowl. And then you say, come drink this. And they go, I don't like drinking water because I'm a cat. And I say, no, have another sniff because I think you will like this, because cats can actually taste water. Right? They can taste individual amino acids. We can't do that. They're amazing. Their tongues are awesome. And they can taste water, like a little wine specialist. Like, oh, this one. Right. So they're very selective about their water. I put down water with this stuff in it. They go, oh my gosh, give me more. I've drunk the whole thing. So not only are they now getting an increase in water content, but they're getting all the medicinal, and I say that very carefully because it's a completely natural product, not my lip gloss, the medicinal value, right, of those minerals that are going in their water. They want to drink mineral water. Right? Mineral water is water that came out of the rocks and out of the soil, and it got filtered by the rocks. It's all natural. It's structured water. It's got this complexity to it. It tastes delicious. Cats know that it's healthy because it's moving water, right? Stagnant water in nature is dangerous. Danger water. That's why they don't want to drink out the bowl. They want to see a nice flowing stream. So you get them the fountains and now they're drinking, right? But if you add some minerals to their water, poof, they're going to drink that. They're going to protect their kidneys. And at the same time, you're giving them the daily essential nutrients that they need, and you're detoxifying them. All three things in one product. Amazing.
Wow. Oh my God. I could talk to you for hours.
So I told you needed 9 hours.
Just want to take the course just for that product.
Right.
Oh my God.
Oh,
okay.
Penny, thank you so much.
I can't believe it's 2:30 in the morning to you now.
Yeah, thank you for your patience. Thank you for staying up so late. Thank you for giving us the idea of jumping on Zoom for a podcast night, which we would have never thought of ourselves. We would have just been like, do you want to try again another time, and send out an apology to everyone? So
where can everyone find you? Because we're all obsessed now.
The link is in the chat for anyone that's interested in this course, and you should all be interested. We're interested in this course. So if you want to sign up with us, click the link in the chat so that you can check out this amazing course and learn from this amazing. I didn't know that everything was live either. I thought it was more of a course thing. I didn't realize that you're going to actually be there coaching. It needs
to be dynamic. And if we're going to implement it, listen, nobody when they sit at home and does a course by themselves implements anything. They barely finish the course. Yeah. So if we want results, and I want results because I really, really want your cat to live long and healthy. So I'll be there live to take you there to do it. So if you bring your cat, you get bonus points.
Everyone will bring their cat.
All of them. And then what socials are you?
So I'm not particularly social. I'm very busy doing other things. But anyway, you'll find me at Dr. Zoolittle on Instagram. Okay, just at Dr. Zoolittle. drzoolittle.co is the website. There are a bunch of free gifts on there. If people want to help themselves to some of the downloads and gifts, then you can just have a filter around in there. It's not very comprehensive. There's loads more things that I offer. So if you would like, I can grab a link that might be a little bit more useful in terms of where people can actually engage and interact. Because the URL won't be fun to learn, but we can put that in the chat. It gives me 2 seconds to do that. But where am I going? Here. Also, there is a little shop that I put together. None of these are my products. I don't make anything because I'm too busy learning and teaching. But I know that people want solutions. When you go to the doctor, right, you want a prescription, you want to come out with something, you want to solve the problem, okay? So I put together a little storefront, it's just Amazon, right? So, but things that actually work, things that are actually worth spending money on, things that cover those 7 pillars, things that build your first aid kit at home, things that will help detoxify the house. You have a nose around in there, but all of that stuff's going to be in there. And then the other things, let me find where I've put that. Take 2 seconds to grab that. Here is where you can have more information about what else I'm teaching, where to find me, if you want to work with me, all the other stuff, because the website doesn't cover most of that.
Wow.
Another link. For everyone watching on Zoom, go ahead and grab the links and text them to yourself.
That's what I just did.
Somewhere, since it doesn't keep them like they do on social. Oh my God, you really are, a powerhouse. And I feel like this is such a gift to have you with us because we do all want the best. None of us are half-ass cat parents. We really want to honor the beautiful little souls that we live with. And
yep. And we all want to prevent, like everything that you were saying, we also have a horrible relationship with the the stigma that every cat is going to end up with kidney disease, right?
It's just a given.
And it's just like we've been told that so many times from so many veterinarians, and we don't accept it. So I love that that's your your big takeaway.
Yeah, because think of what if every cat parent knew how to do that, and it's how easy is it? Like how easy is that? It's 3 liquids that you're going to squirt on their food or put in their like. It's not expensive. It's not complicated. You don't need a degree for it. It's not hard to like. It's so simple.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
love you.
Thank you
Thank you
so much
for staying up.
And thank you guys for coming over to Zoom and hanging out here and to meet Dr. Zoolittle herself and for being so awesome.
And I'm just going to say it right now. We will have you back.
Yes.
This is just
we'll figure out a different platform if we have to get you on live with us on social media.
Because you
so
need
we
to
could do it that way.
Live.
Yes.
Yeah, it's way more fun.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for having me in the room. Thank you for inviting me tonight. Thank you for welcoming me into the closet and having snuggles with the cats. Amazing. And to everyone who's joined us, it's been a pleasure to meet with you all. And I hope we connect somewhere along the way. Go get your free presents. I mean, I want to bless you. Come and ask me questions, because this is for you guys.
I love you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
And you're amazing.
Yeah. Now go to sleep.
We will see you soon.
Yes.